Welcome back everybody to another Swift Programming Language Basics tutorial. This is part 5 of our Basics series, and in this tutorial we're going to be going over if statements. So let's go ahead and get started with our first example. Here we have just a very simple example using just an if statement. So we've gone ahead and created a variable titled favColor, and then we used a single equal sign to assign a string with the color green. Now what we want to do for this if statement is we want to say if this variable, favColor, equals, and remember for equals you use two equal signs, which is different than assignment, which just uses one equals. Okay, so we want to say if favColor equals green, display this message. So we use a print, okay? And we can see that it does indeed equal green, so we should get back this message, green is a nice color. So let's go ahead and run this. And you can see down here in the console we get green is a nice color. Now if we were to change this variable to something other than green, such as blue, and then run it, we will get nothing back in the console. Okay, so that was a simple example just using one if statement. Now let's move on to an example using if with else. So here we have created a temperature variable. Let's just say this is the temperature outside, and we've set it to 33 degrees. And what we want to do is we want to say if the temperature is less than or equal to 32, display a message that says freezing outside. Otherwise, or else, use a print to display a message that says above freezing. Now currently we have the temperature set to 33, so based on this if-else statement, we should get back above freezing. Let's go ahead and run it and see what we get. Okay, so you can see in the console we get above freezing. Now if we were to change this temperature variable right here to 31, now we should get back freezing outside. And you can see in the console we get freezing outside. So that is a simple example of using if with else. In our next example, we're going to go over using if with else if and else. Okay, so here once again we have created a variable titled season and we've set it to spring. Now in this if else example, what we want to do is we want to say if the season equals spring, display a message that says warm. And then we want to use else if statements for the other seasons and display messages that correspond to each of those seasons. So for summer we want it to say hot. For fall, we want it to say cool, and winter, we want it to say cold. And then, if for some reason something other than a season was put here and assigned to the season variable, we can use a catch-all else that says not a season. So let's go ahead and run this. And we can see we get back warm, which is the message that we wanted to be displayed that corresponds to spring. Now, if we change this to, say, fall, now we should get back cool. Let's run it. And we do, we get back cool. And then let's test out this last else statement and let's put something else in here besides fall. Let's just put in spring, but let's say we misspelled it. And we can see that S-R-I-M-P-N-G, which was our attempt to spell spring, but we spelled it wrong, that is not a season. Let's change this back to a real season, say summer, and we get back hot. Moving on to our next example, we're going to use an if statement that uses or. So what we want to do in this if-else statement example is we want to name one of the moons of Mars. So we have created a variable here called Mars Moon and set it to Titan. And I believe there's two moons of Mars called Phobos and Deimos. I'm not exactly sure of the pronunciation on that, but those are the two moons of Mars. And if you put one of those in for the variable Mars Moon, then you get a message that says correct. If you put another moon in, or something that's not Phobos or Deimos, then you get sorry, not correct. So let's go ahead and run this. And since we put in Titan, and that is not correct, that is not one of the two moons, we get back sorry, not correct. Now if we put in one of these correct ones, and since we use the or syntax, which is the two vertical bars or the pipes, we just have to put in one or the other and we'll get back correct. Let's go ahead and run it. Okay, so we put in Phobos here and that matches one of the options, so we get back correct. We can also put in Deimos and that should be correct as well. And we get back correct. That's good. So when we use the or with the if statement, we just need one or the other, and that will be correct. And as you saw in the first example, if you put something in that doesn't match one or the other for phobos or deimos, then you get back sorry, not correct. Moving on to our last example, this is somewhat similar to our previous example using the or. However, in this example, we're going to use and. Okay, so for the and, you use two ampersands. So in this example, we're going to use speed limits. And let's say that the speed limit is 65 miles per hour, and we are currently going 65 miles per hour. Now, what we want to happen is if we are within a certain range. So if we go a little bit over or a little bit under, we want a message returned that says your speed is okay. But if we go too far over or too far under, then we want a message that says too fast or too slow. Okay, so our current speed is 65 and the speed limit is 65. So to get back a message that says your speed should be okay, we're going to use an if statement, and we're going to say if miles per hour is greater than or equal to 62 and miles per hour is less than or equal to 68, we get back this message, your speed is okay. So as long as we don't go too far over or too far under, it looks like we've given ourselves a leeway of about 3 miles either way, we'll be okay. But if we go over 68, we're going to use an else if statement that says else if miles per hour is greater than 68, give us a message that says too fast, and then we can use a catch-all else statement to give us a message that says too slow. And in this case, you could use an else if and explicitly state less than 62, but since we've already stated the criteria for what is okay and what is too fast, the only thing left would be too slow. So in this case, we can use an else statement. And with this if statement here, using the and this else if statement here that says greater than 68, the only thing left would be too slow, and we use the else for that, and now all of our bases are covered. So no matter what we put here for our miles per hour speed, we're going to get back a message that tells us if we're okay, going too fast or too slow. So let's go ahead and run this and see what we get so far. And currently, since the speed is 65 and we're going 65, we get back the message, your speed should be okay. So now let's test our if, and else statements. So let's put in 62, and this is in the range of what should be okay, so we should be okay. Let's run it. It says your speed should be okay. Now let's put in 68, and this is also in the range of what should be okay, so we should get back your speed is okay. And we do. Our speed is okay. But now what happens if we put in something that is too slow, which would be 61? We get back the correct message, which is too slow. And let's test if we're going too fast. So let's put in 69, because that's outside the range of what should be okay. And that's where this else if should come into play. And we get back the correct message, too fast. Okay, so it looks like this if, else statement is working as intended, and we should be good to go. So that's all we have for this Swift tutorial on if statements. We just wanted to show you the basics. There's a lot more that you can do with if statements, and we will be going over many more examples in future tutorials. Join us for those, and we'll see you next time.